Lisa Bishop, age 59, spent several weeks unable to explain her persistent headaches, drowsiness, diarrhea, and more. She couldn't explain what was going on. She'd been hospitalized 6 times over the same period, but doctors could only conclude one rational diagnosis. She'd tested positive for MDMA, cocaine, and benzos, which is a class of depressant. Now, each time she was knocked out, she'd be down for roughly 13 hours, according to court documents that later came out. So, denying any drug use, Lisa Bishop told police that she believed her husband, Alfred Ruf, age 71, was trying to kill her. So, before I get into this story, it's always interesting that the person that's being drugged or poisoned, they always seem to know who's doing it, who's behind it. You know, I think it's my husband.
I think you would have an idea, though. I mean, if I told you you've been poisoned, and it's been numerous times, you would probably have it. Well, who was around me? Who would have access to? You know what I mean? You would, and it's always the husband or wife.
Yeah.
And more times than not. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So it's like, I think that did taste funny when you cooked dinner that night. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I wasn't paying attention when it happened.
And then I cleaned the kitchen floor with a toothbrush. I thought that was weird at the time.
So allegedly pained by guilt, Alfred Ruf fessed up to Bishop that he had, in fact, been dosing her drinks with a white powdery substance without her knowing. Along with the pill bottle, Bishop also gave officers a Coke can she drank out of and had cut open in an attempt to see if there were drugs in the bottom of it. So when talking to police, Alfred Ruf shared that the drugs he put in Bishop's drink were given to him by his 31-year-old stepdaughter, who was allegedly involved in a plot with Ruf to quote, get mom out of the picture in order to cash in on her life insurance. So, Alfred is married to Lisa, and it's Lisa's daughter who's in trying to kill her mom and partnering with her stepdad, that's an interesting twist on the stepdaughter-stepdad dynamic, I think, in what I've been talking about in a lot of these cases recently.
Yeah, and I'm glad you answered it, but I was wondering when you were talking about this guy being 71 years old, I was like, where is he getting Coke and MDMA and that? Like, can you see the 71-year-old guy going to the dance club asking around, like,
right.
Hey, got any?
Right.
It's just
and by the way,
glad you explained that.
Yeah, we'll show a photo of him. He doesn't look cool enough to be at the dance club anyway. They would have never let him in, So, question answered.
And even the most, you got to think of even the most vile cocaine dealers probably going to look at this 70-something-year-old guy and be like, Pops, come on. You can't handle this.
Yeah, get out of here.
I got a conscience here.
So it gets weirder. Ruf said he tried to poison his wife with drugs, quote, so he could have sex with the stepdaughter. Now, remember, stepdad, old Alfred Ruf, is 71, and stepdaughter, who is unnamed here, is 31 years old. So there's the age gap, there's the stepdaughter, stepfather dynamic, there's killing mom, there's poisoning her, there's all this stuff that's happening. So it gets even stranger for me when, together with her friend, Ruf and Bishop's daughter got involved in a sexual relationship. So the stepdaughter has a friend, another female, and the two females would go over to stepdad Alfred Ruff's house after he had drugged Bishop to, quote, put on a show. So this is why this is weird to me. Well, it's weird because you basically want to have a threesome with, your stepdaughter and another friend and poison and all that stuff that I've mentioned. And you knock your wife out for 13 hours. And then
so he would knock her out with the drugs and then tango with the, this guy's got a libido.
Yeah, but here's the thing. you knock her out for 13 hours so you can have sex in your house with your stepdaughter? Like,
with her daughter and
like, why are you doing this in your house? This makes no sense to me. Like,
I
if
guess
she's knocked out for
she's
13
knocked out.
hours, go somewhere else. You're just, you know,
You got to think this guy's actively trying to kill her, so he probably isn't concerned about the moral aspect of that.
well, just remember he did this like multiple times too. Let's drug her. She's out for half of a day. Come on over to the house. We're gonna put on a show and have lots of sex with your friend and hey stepdaughter. That's just so vile and despicable and just strange. So yeah. So months before Alfred Ruff's arrest, Lisa Bishop, the mother, had made several reports with the police about missing personal items, and had also previously reported to Indiana State Police that she thought she was being drugged. Like I said, the affidavit states Ruff told authorities that he dosed his wife's drinks roughly 12 times from the beginning of September 2021 to the end of December 2021. Now, attorneys for Ruff argued later on that the actions might have been avoided had Lisa Bishop been prosecuted because it would seem that the police were aware of the couple because they were frequently called to their home due to domestic violence issues. Among examples of their volatile marriage, defense attorneys would recall when Bishop had run Alfred Ruff over with a car and also, quote, beat him bloody about a year before his arrest. Yeah, very. He was. They were just at each other's throats, leading up to the poisonings and all this stuff that happened.
Did you find this story on Jerry Springer or Dr. Phil?
I can't reveal my sources.
Man, I'm telling you, it's so bizarre. They're like peeling
You know
back
what?
layers of the onion.
You know what's so crazy is how easy it is to find stories like this. Like,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
sad.
well, you know, you and I are both asked, how do you find these stories? How do you connect with it? And it is both extremely difficult to find these stories, but also sometimes if you're looking for them, they come to you and you don't even like you're not even trying to look hard. And I think that's why I love this show is like knowing sometimes we're not going to do a whole 10 episode series on something and you've just got this thing that hits you, you can talk about it right away. So I literally just found this a couple days ago and I was like, I'm all in. And so here we are, you know?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, again, you're just kind of pulling back the layers of the onion, and you always
Yeah.
find that's true with most crimes. You know, a crime happens, and you just start pulling back the layers, and you see where the seed was planted
Yep.
and how it evolved and escalated until you end up at a crime or a murder or attempted murder, whatever it is. And it's always sometimes it's so interesting to see, looking at it. Hindsight is 2020, right? And you look
Yep.
at some story like this and knowing what you know now, go, oh my God, well, how could they have not known? How could they have not seen that?
Right.
Something like
And
this.
yeah, and the brazen attitude of the people that do these crimes that believe they will never be caught. And then you look at the sloppiness of how they went about it, just poisoning someone. I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't think of this stuff, but just the process you have a receipt, you went to a store, you bought the poison, your fingerprints are on something, your DNA is on something. Oh, by the way, it's your wife, she's sick. I mean, how stupid do these people have to be? And they don't think of that, I guess.
Yeah, I always say, man, it's so hard to get away with a crime, especially murder now. I mean,
Yeah,
it happens,
yeah,
but it's so hard. It's like robbing a bank or something like that. It's just technology has finally caught up to a point and is moving so quickly. And just the amount of cameras that are everywhere, and like you
yeah.
said, being able to trace receipts and just phone data and so many different avenues for investigators to look at some and piece a story together. You got to be pretty smart to fool and work around all that. And most people that try things like this are not. You know?
Yeah, the people that
It's
are smart enough could be the serial killers that are able to do this over and
right.
over again and not leave their tracks. So, well,
Yeah.
continuing on with the story, the original affidavit says Ruff finally came clean to his wife and confessed to the poisonings because he felt bad. Which, okay. So Ruff was arrested in on January 10th, 2022. And originally he was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and that charge was actually dropped. It was considered a level 2 felony conviction by the Indiana legislature, and the charge carries a standard 17 and a half year sentence with a sentencing range of 10 to 30 years. So let's fast forward to just a couple months ago, August of 2024, and over 2.5 years since this was uncovered. And Ruff pleaded guilty to aggravated battery by knowingly or intentionally inflicting injury on a person that creates a substantial risk of death, basically a level 3 felony. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 5 years probation. So not a ton, right? Um,
That always blows my mind. I mean, what's fair in a situation that, you can't just, everyone gets life in prison for trying to, I get that because it's just not doable. But 4 years for intentionally, he was intentionally trying to kill her, or he was just only ever poisoning her to get her to pass out so he could have these affairs.
It says aggravated battery by knowingly or intentionally inflicting injury on a person that creates a substantial risk of death. So you're kind of
Right.
like you're
But
towing the
not
line
attempted
on
murder. Yeah.
right. Like that's a very specific statement, as
Right.
opposed to attempted murder. But still, I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty dang close when you
Right.
think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It doesn't sound like it was intent, and he was not trying to kill her. He was just trying to get her to take a nap for a couple hours so I can do this, but knew that what he was doing. Because how old was she,
she was
roughly?
59.
Okay, so yeah, 59. Giving cocaine and MDMA to a almost 60-year-old, that's easily deadly. Just because of the age of your organs,
Yeah, but at the same time, I said earlier, get mom out of the picture in order to cash in on her
Yeah.
life insurance. So it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
it doesn't really come up as much as we get into, it's like the poisoning and this all the crazy sex that they're trying to have. But there was also this other motive, and it feels like maybe that got shoved under the rug as they were actually charging him with something.
I completely forgot that you had even said that
That's right.
statement about get mom out of the picture. So that, yeah, that's even more weird.
Well, the last part of this is that the stepdaughter and the friend were not arrested for anything. It was just dear old stepdad Alfred Ruff. So he is he's behind bars in prison, but they're off doing whatever they're doing.
And I don't even want to know
It's
what
really
they're doing.
interesting. Maybe I could have dug deeper, but I actually never got their names in this. None of their names were never because they weren't charged with anything, right? So, but their names were not put out there. It's interesting how they've been able to kind of escape public scrutiny or police scrutiny or anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we'll make them famous here. No, it's interesting because I mean, certainly if someone dies and they, I buy drugs off of this person, use them and die, that person can actually be charged with murder.
Yeah.
I think that happened with Philip Seymour Hoffman's. That's happened probably tons, but so I mean, it's interesting that they wouldn't be charged with anything in connection with that.
It may be that he confessed. He took more credit for all of it to save everyone. I don't really know what happened
Yeah.
behind closed doors, but they did get their guy. Remember, I felt bad. He told his wife, I felt bad for
Hmm.
poisoning you. So
Sorry, babe.
yeah, So that's my story. I like I said, I keep hitting the cross hatching of poisonings and step parent step kid stuff. And I have actually more stories coming that have a similar bend to them. So stay tuned.
You are absolutely on some kind of FBI watch list. There's no doubt in my mind. They are tracking your web history probably right now with all
Yeah,
the crazy shit you're looking up.
yeah. I hope not. So
Probably
that's a
do.
wrap for this episode. Thanks for joining us on How It All Went South. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.